I remember the day I got the call in late February 2013. My boss told me that Silk Road was a website that operated on this darknet that made it hard to locate where the site was or track any of the customers. That it was the Amazon of drugs, that you could buy any drug you wanted, and the scale was worldwide. In cases like this, IRS criminal investigation are a lot of times brought in because we're financial experts at tracking money, and most crimes are about the money. I had studied accounting when I was in college. I worked as an auditor, and then I became a special agent. I hadn't, up to this point, done any kind of work in the drug trafficking field. My first day on the investigation, the first thing was introducing myself to say, hey, I'm the new agent, and what do you know about this Silk Road? For the most part, to a man, they hated the case. I get the undercover laptop, we power up the site, and I am dumbfounded. I had heard about it, people had told me about it, but until you actually got to the site and just saw how professional it was done and how easy it was to get to the site, it really was amazing.
For a normal person to purchase on Silk Road, they were first required to download a special browser, which would allow them access onto the dark web.
The Silk Road really offered two distinct protections to users. One was Tor, and that's a tool that anyone can download. It triple encrypts your traffic as you're browsing the web and then bounces it through 3 different servers all around the globe.
So you couldn't locate the people using it or administering the site. But that does no good if you have to buy the drugs with a credit card, because it wouldn't be too hard for an investigator like myself to track down who made this purchase. So the site specifically only authorized Bitcoin transactions.
The second protection was Bitcoin, of course. Bitcoin is a digital currency. It's independent of any bank or government, unlike any currency that otherwise exists in the physical world.
It works like cash on the internet. You can move it, but it doesn't have to be associated with any name. So it was used to make sure that people couldn't trace the money.
What made the Silk Road unique was that it had combined Tor with Bitcoin. I think that that's often how real innovation works. That combination, I think, was really the spark that changed the whole game.
Even though there were numerous vendors, there was an overriding force that controlled the site. That's the person that we want to target. He would call himself the captain of the ship. He originally was just called Silk Road or Silk Road Admin, but after a time, he took on a new alias or a new name, and it was Dread Pirate Roberts.
I know who you are. Your cruelty reveals everything. You're the Dread Pirate Roberts, admit it.
That name has significance because it comes from this film and a novel called The Princess Bride. And the Dread Pirate Roberts is a title that's passed down from one kind of noble criminal to the next.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die.
Again.
to find listings here that are outlawed in your jurisdiction. That doesn't mean Silk Road is lawless. Our basic rules are to treat others as you would wish to be treated. Mind your own business. And don't do anything to hurt or scam anyone else. There are some things you will never find here. They include child pornography, stolen goods, and assassinations. As a community, if we are going to survive, we need to adopt a long-term vision. It is my sincere hope that by making drugs available in a secure and predictable way, we will eliminate the violence of obtaining drugs through traditional methods.
Silk Road users just loved it. They called DPR a Che Guevara figure, changing the liberties of man. DPR really believed, and I think his users did too, that they were ushering in this new era of human freedom.
I searched long and hard for the truth about what is right and wrong, about what is good for humanity. All of a sudden, it was so clear. Every action you take outside the scope of government control strengthens the market and weakens the state. I saw how quickly the state would crumble if it didn't have its tax revenues. No soldiers if you can't pay them. No drug war without billions of dollars being siphoned off the very people you are oppressing. We are like a little seed in a big jungle that has just broken the surface of the forest floor. It's a big, scary jungle with lots of dangerous creatures, each honed by evolution to survive in the hostile environment known as human society.
There's two ways to see the Silk Road. You can see it as just a vast criminal conspiracy as it's described by the FBI, or you can see it as a grand experiment in granting people an almost dangerous level of freedom, a kind of new anarchy on the internet where people can act with impunity from laws.
The first thing you want to know in an investigation is not what you do know. You want to know what you don't know. And I know I didn't know a lot. So I had to go all the way back to the beginning. It was only after a few months of Silk Road getting started that it became into the public consciousness. And what happened was there was an article written by Gawker about, I believe it was, you can buy any drug imaginable. Within days of that press article, Senator Schumer from New York called a press conference calling for the site to be shut down.
It's a certifiable one-stop shop for illegal drugs that represents the most brazen attempt to peddle drugs online that we have ever seen. It's more brazen than anything else by light years.
Traffic to the site went through the roof.
Authorities say they are absolutely shocked by a popular new website brazenly selling illegal drugs to anyone with a computer.
Het is een soort marktplaats waar drugs op verkocht wordt. Een site genaamd Silk Road.
A lot more eyeballs and traffic went to the site, and it became much more profitable. Drugs were being shipped all around the U.S. Drugs were being shipped outside of the U.S. Drugs were coming in from outside. It was going all over the place.
LSD, cocaine, and ecstasy are now just a click of a mouse away.
The case was pretty high profile and people wanted results.
Le site Silk Road avait été créé en 2011. Les clients utilisaient des bitcoins du nom de cette monnaie virtuelle.
But they didn't know how to bring it down.
We even found a local customer who says there's not a lot police can do to stop it.
Hey, I'm calling on the DEA and the Department of Justice to immediately shut this site down before more damage is done.
Whoever this person running the site, you would think at this point they're like, oh, I should get out of this game. But surprisingly, the person's reaction who run the site was,
holy shit. This is epic.
The gauntlet has been thrown down. Bring it on.
Prior to Silk Road, all the customers I had were almost all face-to-face. When the Silk Road came along, it virtually expanded my network to every single customer in the world.
Cyber branch of the FBI was the lead technical investigative agency for this investigation. There were millions of dollars being transferred back and forth, and it was large-scale purchases from casual drug users to hardcore dangerous drugs.
DPR was taking money from every transaction. He was getting a fee for every time a good was sold on the site.
6 months into the investigation, we had limited success. Clearly, we hadn't identified the hidden service yet. We hadn't been able to defeat Tor, and we hadn't identified the Dread Pirate Roberts. We didn't know where he was, who he was, how old he was, if he was a male or female. That creates a huge challenge to a very aggressive investigative team.
I've gone through the mental exercise of spending a lifetime in prison and of dying for this. I have let fear pass through me and commit myself fully to the mission outlined in the charter. What we are doing is more important than my insignificant life. What we are doing will have rippling effects for generations to come, and could be part of a monumental shift in how human beings organize and relate to one another. Silk Road is going to become a phenomenon. At least one person will tell me about it, unknowing that I am its creator.
DPR played the vendors very well and kept them close to him. We took care of him, he took care of us. The site had a commission somewhere around 3%. They later increased their percentage somewhere around 12%. This further brings my reasoning to DPR only wanting money. Anybody who says that they're doing this for other than money is a liar.
To those of you chalking my actions up to pure greed, I say, shame on you. When have I lied? When have I cheated or stolen from anyone here? do you think it runs itself? Do you have any clue what goes on behind the scenes to keep this going? Whether you like it or not, I am the captain of this ship. And if you don't like the rules of the game, you can get off the boat.
Dread Pirate Roberts could have been anybody. There was a lot of theories.
Of course I wondered, but I know how to mind my manners and not ask that type of question.
They were different nationalities, different age groups.
The writing of the Silk Road made us believe that it was someone from Australia, other English-speaking countries.
I imagine some kind of pot-bellied guy in his basement in Silicon Valley.
There were theories that the person had connections to Russia.
My guess was that he was from the UK.
I thought he was relatively young because he would use this term epic, because that's a term the younger generation would say.
We really didn't know where the person was located. They could have been located in any country in the world. He was a ghost.
I remember it was a Friday night. I was frustrated with the case. I wasn't getting the results that I thought I should be getting. So what I decided is I'm going to go over everything I did. I was going to redo everything. My dad was a math teacher, and I think I kind of got that from him in the way he approached things, and very methodically. 2 + 2 is 4, and he always raised me to believe I can overcome anything. So I was going to go over every last bit of evidence because I figured I had missed something. I was in bed. I was having a hard time sleeping because I just cannot sleep with like something that I should be doing. My fiance, she would be upset at me sometimes. Why are you up late at night? Why don't you go to sleep? So I go to where my couch is, and that's where I do most of my work, and I just start plugging away. The Silk Road site was hosted on this Tor hidden service, but that is no good if someone's just on the regular internet. So I figured whoever was running the site had to first advertise it. I started putting search terms in, like Silk Road, but unfortunately a lot of stuff came back. So I started putting in limiting searches. Silk Road started in early 2011. So I limited it to before, let's say, February 2011 to see if there was any mentions of a Silk Road site before then, and I would start there. And by doing that search, I came across a posting on the Bitcoin forum from an avatar named Altoid. I click on it, and it brings me to this discussion thread about how someone could have a drug enterprise online and how would they do it. And he's advertising for a Silk Road site. So it predates all other mentions. So it was kind of eye-opening. Say, how did this person, Altoid, know about this site before the site was launched? On his final posting in October of 2011, Altoid says he's going to start a Bitcoin company and is looking for programming help. And he asks for people to reach out to him. And in the posting, he lists his Gmail account for them to contact him. And the Gmail account that he lists is rossobert@gmail.com. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I have to look into who this Ross Obert is.
I actually didn't really talk to him the first time I met him. And then after that, we were inseparable. I honestly don't think there's anything we didn't do together, from going to parks and going on hikes to going to art museums. He was really into yoga and exercise. He was also into qigong and breathing. There was a period of time when he was always in his room, was always working on stuff. You know, he really always had his computer in tow and was very kind of secretive about it.
Ask me a question.
What are you most excited about for the 2011 year?
Just very excited to see how things play out. I think it's going to be a big year of change. On a broad scale, you know. Yeah, it's exciting.
He was known on campus as being just, you know, a really cool, awesome dude. People would just get drawn to him. He would always try and make sure everybody was having a good time, you know, that nobody was off in their own little corner doing their own thing.
It was definitely my first love. Have great sex, hang out, you know, going to parties, going out to eat and cuddling in the freezing cold, you know, just perfect. He kind of made me think about a lot of things, a lot of different perspectives on life that I had never even considered before.
What are you most looking forward to?
I guess I'm looking forward to the possibility of turning my passion into a viable business.
Awesome. Well, wish you the best of luck.
I mean, he was a genius, in my opinion. It was all about entrepreneurship, and his parents were entrepreneurs. They had owned condos in Costa Rica and rented them out. He genuinely loved his family, and Ross genuinely looked up to his dad, and he loved his mother. So I think, yeah, I definitely think they had an influence on him.
Ross would dress in as little as possible. I knew him for a big chunk of freshman year. Before I ever knew his name, he was no shirt guy. And he was no shirt guy to literally hundreds of other people, who I'm sure never even bothered to learn his name. I remember one time we were going camping, and to Ross, since he was no shirt guy, you know, wearing a bunch of clothes was, you know, something that you had to do because other people made you do it. And once we got to our campsite right by this lake, it was like, okay, clothes come off. I'm gonna spend as much time as I can out in nature, you know, just completely butt-ass naked doing my own thing.
I didn't really have a lot of friends at that point, so I just hung out with Ross. When I was working, I don't know what he was doing, to be honest.
So on Monday morning, I want to tell the other guys and girls in the group about what I found. I have a very expressive face. So when I get in, I'm pretty excited. And I was like, hey, we got something new. We got something that we can really sink our teeth into and look into this person, Ross Ulbricht. The case had been going on for about 2 years. And they say, well, how'd you find it? And I tell them, Google. They're like, really? That's what you did? And I'm like, yes. I mean, you come into this big case and tell people you've cracked it over a weekend doing Google searches. You should expect some, you know, quizzical looks. I was just this total outsider. You know, people dismissed it.
So I was working at Forbes magazine when I saw the first press come out about the Silk Road. I was pretty much obsessed with the Silk Road as this new phenomenon on the internet, especially with the Dread Pirate Roberts, this mysterious figure behind it all. Of course, I wanted to figure out who he was. That would be the ultimate scoop. On the forums, you can private message anyone, and as anonymous as he was still available, for anybody to reach out to. And I was shocked to see that he actually was super responsive. He wrote back to me immediately, which was not what you would expect from the kingpin of a massive drug operation. He said that he wanted to share this vision he had with the world, but that he was waiting for what he considered to be the right moment, that he wanted to wait for some new phase of Silk Road that he alluded to but never fully explained. Very polite and professional, espoused these political ideals that seemed very noble. He was funny at times. I proceeded to pester him to give me a full interview. I, at one point, just launched into a series of questions about who he was, how old he was, if he was male or female even, and he was so freaked out that he cut off all contact.
Ross and I would talk about politics for hours and hours. He thought that people were their own best judges of what was right for them, and that it was a bad idea to have somebody essentially standing over their shoulder telling them what was okay and what wasn't okay.
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children.
Ross agreed with the libertarian idea that people have the natural desire to do stuff like drugs, and that when you have a legal setup where access to drugs is prohibited,
drugs take away the dream from every child's heart and replace it with a nightmare.
You don't stop people from doing drugs, you've just made it more likely that they'll get injured, or they'll get ripped off, or they'll get into an uncomfortable relationship with some shady drug dealer.
But if we face this evil as a nation united, this will be nothing but a handful of useless chemicals.
I'm sure in his mind he was thinking, there's got to be a better way, you know?
So Ross and I, we started off as neighbors down a hall. Eventually needed to find a new place, and he and his girlfriend were also looking for a new place, so we ended up moving in together.
We got a 2-bedroom apartment, just a really cute place. It had a hot tub and everything. It was really fun.
Have you ever been to Big Bend?
Yeah, National Park?
Yep. Looking up at the sky and looking at so many stars out there.
Yeah, fuck, man.
Just chilling in his hot springs, and a blue fireball, I kid you not, streaked probably, like an arc like this across the sky.
That was a weather balloon filled with methane gas.
Right, it's some kind of like space junk. It wasn't like, I think it was like human trash, honestly.
We had trash in space? I had no idea.
Ross was always working on a new project. He's always telling me you can accomplish more than you think you can. But as far as I can tell, it never really clicked for him with sort of the 9-to-5 type of work.
I hate having to lie to people. Friends will tell me, why don't you do this or that? Like I have all this free time.
One time he made me these steaks. And at some point, I was like, can't really talk about it. I have this project, I'm working on it, I'm really excited about it. It's currency based. And I thought, you know what? This is his new project, he's working on it, we'll see where it goes. I was honestly like, okay, great, that's awesome. The problem is for Ross, he would work on a new project and then it would just not pan out. And that was sort of the way I knew him. Being an entrepreneur is very hard. Most people fail.
I just want to scream. I'm running a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise.
Growing up, everyone knew. I completely went dark. Everyone just thought that I was doing a normal job. 99% of the time, I dress up in suits.
It's not how you look today.
I'm wearing $3,000 pants. I had all the money I wanted to. I could do anything I really hadn't even imagined. The most baller thing we did, we went to Pattaya in Thailand. It was during the Festival of Color. We paid a whole bunch of people to ride us around on elephants. Well, we were on top of the elephants smoking fucking heroin and all sorts of crazy things on top of elephants, throwing $100 bills out of the air. It was like one of those fucking painted elephants and everything too, and they have like the wooden like little house on top.
It's hard to get across in this medium. But I love you. I love you guys.
I've done a bunch of other stupid shit with my money, but that was like one of the most that was like the happiest point in my life.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my comrades. Thank you for giving me the best job in the world.